Hey crew, Arturo Spraycasso here. So I've gotten a lot of wonderful emails and text and messages regarding the little short video tutorials that I've done on how I create some of this art on my phone. So I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna create another short tutorial. I'm gonna hit the button on my stylus. Again, guys, I'm using an S21. The stylus is sold separately, but the function should be the same in any phone that you may have that has a stylus. I'm gonna go with this one here. This is a highlighters. And I'm gonna select, let's see, what sounds like a good color. You know what? I kind of like this color. Yeah, let's select something like this. Nope. All right. Let's increase the size and the opacity. 52 sounds good. I'm just gonna create a nice little round background. I'm just gonna squiggle it like this. I just think it looks kind of cool. All right, now next I'm gonna do I'm gonna change the opacity a little bit more, reduce this. I'm gonna create some nice little terrain here. All right. And I'm just gonna go back and forth a few times just to kind of make it. And I know I'm using pink. I just thought it'd be a nice little change, you know. I'm gonna make one right here. Now here's the thing, guys. If you overlap, it's gonna get brighter. So maybe the trick is not to overlap the colors just yet. I'm just gonna go back and forth here a few times. Squiggly, squiggly, back and forth, back and forth. There we go. So I'm creating a terrain here. Can you guys see that? Of course you can. All right, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna change this down to maybe about 8 or 7. And the opacity, I'm gonna change it just a little bit darker. Let's go with, you know what? I almost want to go with, yeah, let's go with 1. Let's go with 1. Finer details. I'm just gonna go up and down here. Gonna create what this terrain looks like, and so it's gonna be rocky. So we're gonna have some nice little rocky terrain here. Just gonna go up and down a few times. I'm gonna do the same on this end. Just gonna do that. Just nice and rocky. Now, remember what I told you earlier about overlapping some of these colors when you're using the highlighter function? They become brighter. So I'm gonna go up and down here on this end where we have more light hitting it. Some of these other ends I'm gonna leave dark. I'm not even gonna add anything on here so it looks darker. Come over here, add a little bit more. All right, now let's concentrate on some water. We'll go back. You know what would be a good color for that kind of water? I think that color. Yep, either that one or that one. That one. All right. I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna go back to that, number 1. I'm gonna go with 36. It's gonna, without lifting the pen, I'm just gonna create some squigglies here to create the water effect. And go back and forth. All right. I'm gonna overlap this a little bit. All right, look at that. Okay, so to create that effect that I just did there, you're gonna want to overlap some of these areas, you know. It'll look a little bit brighter. All right, now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna select the lighter color, probably that one, just to add a little bit of different tones to the water. Yeah, Coming out? Okay. Now then, let's go with, you know what? I think I want to leave it like this. Well, maybe, you know what? Hold on. Let's add, I wanted to add some background. Like maybe there's some land here in the background. And we're just gonna end it like that. I'll go back and forth a few times. Okay. Nice little terrain. Now, I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'm going to create another piece of terrain, and because we're overlapping it, it's going to look a little bit brighter. You guys see that? And you can keep doing that. You can keep going under and under and keep making it brighter. So if I wanted to add another piece of terrain, you just do that and overlap it. It's all about layers. Now, this is the same technique that I was using for my clouds. So you can add, you know, very voluptuous clouds here in the background. I'm not in this case. A little bit of that here. Look at that. You know what I think I will add? Some shadows. So I'm going to select this dark gray. And I'm just going to go here a little bit. Gonna add some shadows here on the water. Yeah. You can even add some shadows here on this part of the terrain. And look at that. It'll just make the terrain stand out even more. Gonna add a little bit of those lines here, those shadows. Now this is very much like spray painting. It's all about layers and the way you manipulate these layers. And so if I want them darker, I'm just gonna add a little bit more, kind of overlap it. Look at that. Okay, we're gonna do the same over here. Back and forth a few times. All right, so now we've set up ourselves with a nice little background that we can work with. Now here is the tricky part. If I go to my brush and select, say black, and I come in and I want to add a nice little tree here, just like that, it disappears. It goes into the back of the highlighter area. So what do? Well, it's very simple. This is where I leave this area set up like this. I click on my pen. You have to get out of it. So I'm going to call this Tropics. Pink Tropics. Pink Tropics. Okay. And I'm going to get out of it. Yep, just get out of it. I'm going to open it up one more time. Let me remove this little guy out of the way. And I'm going to take a picture of it. A screen picture. So, you know, your phone may be different. Mine, you have to push up and, I don't know, something. Another button, the power button. So now I'm going to select this. Oh, let me do that again. Oh, no. Sorry, turned it off. They put the buttons really in a really awkward position. So I'm going to select this area right about there. Move this guy here. I think that's good. And now I'm in my screen right. So I can go back and I'm going to add some layers to this texture that we just added earlier. I'm going to delete this little number 1 out of 2 here on the bottom. I'm going to zoom in, maybe create a nice little palm tree right here. We're going to zoom in on that, kind of get some of those details. You know what? Palm trees have always been very fun to me to make because they're so easy to do and yet they look so natural. I create the palm trees this way, maybe one coming down. You know, you always have some that are kind of hanging down here and then you just go down here and reinforce what that's going to look like. And look, you can add some nice little You guys know me, I like to bring the grass strands into the terrain in the background. In fact, look, you can even add a nice little mountain scenery back here. And so it's a process. As you can see, it's a process, and it's all done right here on my phone. But man, it has been a lot of fun, and I know you guys have enjoyed it. I've seen all the comments and questions, and so I thought I'd kind of specify more, because there's been a couple of comments like, well, you can't just do that all entirely on your phone. Yeah, you can. You really can. You may have to find ways around it, like we did here. Just gonna add one, where you create the background and then you do a screen write, and then you're able to add some additional functions or layers. Yes. I'm just gonna reinforce this. Gonna come down, and remember, the pen, the more pressure you add, the thicker it gets, which is a pretty neat little feature. Maybe we can add another one right here. Okay, zoom in. It's always important you zoom in. You get better details that way. All right. Pep. Now, there is other software out there. I haven't really used it. I'm a person of habit. Once I get used to one thing, it's really hard for me to jump on board with other softwares, especially if it's like I like the results. I know. It's a little close-minded of me to do that, especially since I work in a field that's constantly changing and software is being upgraded, updated, and maybe that's why I kind of resist with art. But now that I'm doing a lot more like digital sketching, and I'm really loving it, guys, really loving it. Let's select a, you know what, I'm gonna go with maybe that color. Say done. Let me make sure that my brush is at the bare minimum. Yep. And I'm going to add some highlights. I'm just going to go up and down. And that's how you add your highlights. And like I was telling you guys, this is a really good way of experimenting. If you have an idea for your next painting, you can do something like this and kind of figure out how you're going to move forward with it. I started doing this because I had a lot of friends that would send me their paintings, and if they felt that they weren't done, they would say, hey, Spray, what do you recommend? What do you think of this one? And I would just come through and say, well, you need some more highlights here. You need some more plant life here. And so I would draw on top of their paintings. And they would really appreciate that, because it eliminates a lot of the verbal communication mishaps. Add more highlights. Well, where? Here where your sun is. More colors, wherever it was. And so I just started doing it, and I started really enjoying it. And I started going through some of my paintings and saying, what happens if I just add more colors here? And before I knew it, I was hooked. And you know what I like about this the most is that you guys can do it at any time. Anytime. You can be in a, like I said earlier, in a restaurant or Walmart or wherever it takes you. And if you're just waiting, you can just take out your pen and just start drawing. Start doing all the nice little details here. Put it up, continue it later. You save it as a picture and then you continue it later. But oh yeah, look at this. This is how you create those little birds. They don't have to be complicated. Please don't make them as V's. I've never been a big fan of that. Well, there you go. That's the technique I use. Kind of like little eyebrows. But when they connect, they even give you a little bit of that body of the seagull or bird or whatever it is that you're... Oh, and if you don't like it, if you say, I don't like the way that one came out, you just undo it. Look at that. Yeah? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I know. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. Now, again, I did this little scenery where I just kind of went back and forth and kind of created it that way. But you don't have to do that. It's just my way of doing it. But you can definitely paint on the entire surface of your phone. Bring that down, this up. I'm gonna add some sparkles here on the water. What sparkles? Well, it's as they sound, just little sparkles. All it is little dots that I'm going back and forth here and adding. Is this white? Yep. Sometimes I do a nice little, and that's all it is little X's or little crosses. You can, you know, change them however you want. Little dots. Oh, they're too big, you can always undo. Yeah, look at that. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think so too. Now, the most important part, which is what, guys? You guys remember, I always say this about the paintings, the spray paintings. It is your signature. Yep, it is definitely your signature. All right, let me kind of clear out some of this space here on the bottom. Yep. Delete that. I'm going to select a nice little pink color. Oh, that one. That one's really awesome. All right, I'm going to select like a number 1. Spraycasso. There you go. If you don't like your signature, that's another thing. You can always go back and say, nah, you know, I want to make it more visible. There you go. So there you go, guys. That's a nice little tutorial as to how I do this. It's a lot of fun for me to just do these little quick sketches. I post them up on Facebook, and you know, people are always like, whoa, how did you do that? Well, here's how you do it. Experiment with it, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun with it. All right, crew, until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Later, crew. Let's save it.